For men, testosterone levels are just tanking. So it's like, first is the question of why. And obviously I have a lot of ideas: sedentary behavior, poor nutrition introduced into our environment. So, we're consuming about a credit card's worth of microplastics and nanoplastics. Every month they found microplastics in every organ, from men's genitalia to the placenta to the liver. And there's a direct relationship between your gut and your brain. We are dealing with unprecedented levels of mental health issues. So if you feed your body junk, you can expect to perform like junk, feel like junk. But the thing about chronic conditions, specifically here in the US, is that doesn't happen overnight. That's the product of the last decade of your life. Waiting for someone to come and fix the food system for you is not going to help you right now, and it's not going to help you in your future, and it's not going to help you reduce the risk of chronic disease.
Thank you. I think you're so right about having a firm or intentional purpose. And something that you said, or that I saw, that's very scary, I think, which can give a firm intention, is 60% of people having chronic diseases today. And for example, me, I have a family history of cardiovascular issues, and that's something that motivates me to keep healthy. But just talking about the chronic health condition, how do you think in the US, for example, we might be able to legislate differently, or the food system could be set up differently to try and begin to reduce this number, not just through personal action, but also through the way that we shape society?
Well, of course I have ideas. I mean, it would require an entire system overhaul, starting with, regulation on food additives and pesticide management, and even, some of the structure around food programs. And just in general regulations. I mean, I think that would help people so much, because unfortunately, many people think that if it's in the grocery store or it's on the shelf, that there's a good chance it's safe. It doesn't come with a label on it that says this has been sprayed with carcinogenic pesticides. So labeling things in a better way, having more management around food production and things of that nature would be so helpful. But I mean, the reality of the situation is that this is a massive industry. The medical industry in the US is massive. It's one of the biggest industries, one of the biggest money makers that we have. So there's not a lot of financial incentive to actually put these regulations into place. So as much as I want to and love and, am pushing and doing everything I can to change that, improving your health, you cannot wait for regulation to do that for you, because it won't be happening anytime soon, if ever. So waiting for someone to come and fix the food system for you is not going to help you right now, and it's not going to help you in your future, and it's not going to help you reduce the risk of chronic disease. So it's super important that everyone becomes the CEO of their own health and takes it into their own hands, because no one is looking out for you in that respect.
I recently listened to your interview with RFK, which I think is quite relevant, especially after yesterday's debate. And yes. I was wondering, I listened to what he was saying, and there were some things which I did agree with, but he also said that we have the least healthy generation in history. And I was wondering to what extent you agree with that, because when I square this with how people were living 100 years ago, I think that nowadays we've got so much more information, and that people are perhaps living healthier, even though there's still so much to go. So what would you say to that?
Yeah, Robert, I think where he's coming from a legislation standpoint and food system, I mean, honestly, I think from that perspective, he's the only candidate that understands it well enough and actually would basically tear down the whole thing to rebuild it, because that is what would need to be done. But in terms of his statement, there's certainly amazing medical advancements, right? We're not dying we have antibiotics, so we're not dying from a lot of infections that we used to die from in the past. But without a doubt, everything across the board, from cancer to chronic disease to, mental health issues, we are moving nowhere but in the wrong direction. These conditions are skyrocketing. Infertility is skyrocketing. Cancer, chronic disease, all of this is skyrocketing. For the first time, our expected life expectancy, and, we don't have to go into all the logistics of why, because it could be related to the prior, 4 years. But it's actually decreasing. And there's a difference between lifespan and health span. So health span is the number of years that you're actually healthy versus the number of years you're living, which is your lifespan. And in my ideal world, those are basically the same, right? You want to be healthy until you're not here anymore. But currently, there's at least a 12-year discrepancy between when people are healthy versus when they actually, pass. So we want to narrow that, because who wants to spend, like, my worst nightmare would be not remembering my family members, not remembering where I put things, feeling unwell, being bedridden in the later years of my life. So I agree with him that we are definitely experiencing unprecedented levels of chronic conditions, most of which are lifestyle related.
Of course, there's two angles to the question, and I think you're right to emphasize the personal aspect. But nonetheless, given the fact that many people don't, and we have so many chronic health conditions, how do you feel about maybe the American healthcare system, which, like you said, drives a huge profit, versus coming from the point of view of the UK, a nationalized or public one, which, even though it has its issues, might be able to provide to people a kind of more standardized version of healthcare, a kind of bedrock to increase health span?
Well, of course, I'm not super familiar, nor have I ever experienced your guys' medical system. But our medical system it's unfortunately just not made for health. It's very reactive instead of proactive. The time with the doctor is extremely short. And I want to say, I think doctors, and the majority of my friends are doctors, I think all doctors go into it with the right intentions. They want to care for people. They want to love them. They want to help them, and they want to help make them healthy. But unfortunately, the way that the system is set up, it doesn't really allow for that. So first, you don't have the time with the patient to actually understand, what are you eating? How are you moving? How are you sleeping? It really is a system that it's a very short visit, usually leaving the visit with some sort of either diagnosis, prescription, surgery, etc. So it's just not built for health optimization, because even when it comes to diagnostics, diagnostics could be done significantly earlier. We could be looking at more in-depth labs, for example, cardiovascular health. I read basically a little paper that said it takes about 17 years for something to be proven out in the science to actually come to bedside, if it ever does. So that means we have a lot of information on how to potentially, reduce chronic disease or test for it earlier with early diagnostics. But those different protocols might not necessarily make it into the medical system. So again, unfortunately, I think that private clinics, functional medicine providers, people that are looking for the root cause of your disease or issue is significantly better, because Western medicine in the US is just not built for, it's not root cause medicine. It's not looking for the why, when, where, what. It's just saying, okay, this is what I see, and here you can leave with this.
Do you want to frolic freely at the beach, hairless both upstairs and downstairs? Tired of being left bloody, stumbling and alone because of a bad razor? Then you know what to do. Get yourself a Manscaped. With the new Beard and Balls bundle, you can stay fresh all over. Use the discount code LOW for 20% off now.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that short clip of our episode with Kayla Barnes. If you want to see the full thing, you can click right here. Please like and subscribe as well, because it really helps the channel, and we got loads more content just like this coming. See you guys next time.